control the vertigo.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your host Mark. Today we are covering yet again the Twilight Zone. This time this is the most recent version of this show, which is from 2019. So it's the fourth iteration of the Twilight Zone. This one had Jordan Peele connected, so there's a lot of excitement and heat around it because Jordan Peele's made some great horror films and kind of stories that feel very Twilight Zone-y, actually. And it's kind of based quite strongly on the original Twilight Zone. The intro's the same, though the Peele is the narrator in this, and he's credited as the narrator. He's doing, Rod Serling's job in essence. It premiered the first season, and there are two seasons of this. First season premiered on April the 1st, 2019. This episode we're talking about tonight. On CBS All Access. It was also additionally released on YouTube in its entirety with no need to sign in or anything like that. This first episode I'm talking about. It doesn't appear to be on YouTube anymore. Couldn't find it. I find some comments and little sort of videos about it, but not on the actual show itself is not there. There were two seasons in all. There's been a confirmation that it wouldn't be returning after the second season, and each season consists of 10 shows. Mostly, I think certainly in the first season, it was fairly long episodes, 50 odd minutes. But I think they kind of modified it to the story, so there are shorter episodes now. Jordan Peele was involved in a lot of them. And also, I noticed that one of the producers is Glenn Morgan, who I believe is connected strongly. Well, he is strongly connected to the X-Files, so there's a similar space, right? It was renewed halfway through for a second season, halfway through the first season. They felt that it was successful enough for that, but they didn't want to continue after that. They said they told all the stories they wanted to tell. That was the sort of explanation. But yeah, there we go. So first season ran from April to May 2019, and second season was entirely released on the same day as online on June the 25th, 2020, so a year after. Now, this first episode is called The Comedian, directed by Owen Harris, written by Alex Rubens, and as I say, it originally released on the 1st of April 2019. And having a look, the first and second ones actually released online on that day. The second one was a famous Twilight Zone story, Nightmare at 30,000 Feet, probably the third version of that story, I believe. So yeah, interesting. But The Comedian features Kamal Nanjiani, who was actually pretty good in the role. I quite like Kamal Nanjiani. I was aware of him before he became famous in the UK, probably before he became that famous in the US, because I used to listen to a podcast that was kind of covering the same ground as one of the podcasts I used to run. I used to run a podcast called The X-Files. That's Philes for the second one. And he had a podcast called The X-Files Files. So it's very similar. And it was very good. A very good podcast. Very likeable. He had lots of... he kind of had some connections. So he got people from the show on, talking about 1 or 2 episodes, mostly 2 episodes if I remember per episode, about 2 episodes of the X-Files. So, and it was fun, very good podcast. If you like the X-Files, I would recommend it. Interestingly, that one stopped about season 4, which is the same when mine stopped. I used to co-host with Becky on the X-Files files. Sorry, I've said Kumail Nanjiani's version, X-Files, but we just, life got too busy, so we just stopped. But we did enjoy watching the X-Files, and I did used to enjoy listening to Kumail Nanjiani on that, so I kind of know the voice. I've also seen him recently in The Eternals. He was, which was an okay film. It got bad reviews. I thought it was okay, but I actually liked him. I think he was the best character in it. He played a character called Kingo. He was the most likeable character anyway. There were some interesting characters in that film. I think it's a little underrated, but yeah, he was quite good in that. And that was the first time I'd actually seen him visually. And he wasn't what I expected. From his podcast, he sounded like he was going to be a skinny little dude. But he's not. He's fairly tall and robust, Anyway, Kumail Nanjiani is the lead in this, where he plays a comedian who's not doing very well, called Samir. And he goes to the bar after his stand-up. Not many laughs at all. And he meets a comedian he's absolutely idolises, called JC Wheeler. Now, this guy was played by Tracy Morgan. I really like Tracy Morgan. I haven't seen him in much, but I do like him, and it was good to see him in this. I watched him recently in Cop Out, the Kevin Smith film with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan, and he was really good in that. It's an okay film, and I think he was probably the best element of it, actually. I quite liked it. There was a few other things I liked about that film too, but I really like Tracy Morgan in that, and I liked him in this. And basically, he says they don't care about you, because he's trying to tell political jokes, and no one's laughing. He says they don't care about your politics, they care about you. Make them interested in you. So he goes up and does a skit about his dog called Cat, and he gets some laughs. But when he goes home, his dog has mysteriously disappeared, and his girlfriend doesn't seem to know anything about it. Anyway, the upshot is, as he tells jokes about people, they kind of just disappear from existence, like they never existed. And he kind of becomes aware of this by accidentally erasing his girlfriend's nephew while he makes a little skit about it, and he realises how dangerous it is. However, he likes the laughs, and he carries on. He starts basically spotting people he doesn't like or have done bad things. Actually, it's more he's done bad things, and he starts using online, looking up paedophiles and bad people generally to make jokes up on stage. There was a bit of a problem with this episode. 2 things really. It was too long for the material. I felt it would have been better as a 25-minute thing, actually. And also, the other thing is, when he started talking about people who he wanted to get rid of, he wasn't actually making jokes. He was just talking about them. It wasn't funny. But the people watching him were laughing. And I don't know if that was an in-universe thing, but I think they could have done with some comedy writers on this episode to actually give him comedy material to use. Because Kumail Nanjiani could do that, he's got a good charisma, a good delivery, and he's funny. But unfortunately, the materials were like, what about so-and-so? And everyone would laugh. Like, they didn't know that name. It meant nothing to them, but they were laughing anyway. But he did also occasionally try and go back to his political stuff, and the laughing stopped. And then he realises there's going to be consequences on what he's doing. He actually sees an effect of removing someone that was important in his girlfriend's life, and his girlfriend's life completely changes, her job and everything. So he realises there's consequences to all this, and it starts to really go down a sort of dark hole on it. Yeah, it's kind of downbeat. I feel like they're kind of more in Black Mirror space than Twilight Zone space on this one, and I kind of get it, but it was too long, I think, and some of the scripting was a bit flawed. Looked great, well acted, no problems with any of the acting or anything like that. There was just this flaw of it being a little overlong for the extra story, and him doing stand-up and people laughing at things that weren't particularly humorous. They were just statements. Was a bit odd, right? And he does realise what he's done at the end. There is kind of, I wouldn't call it redemption, but there's a reckoning and correction for everything he's done. So yeah, interesting. There's some quite good. I really like the cast. So it was a very solid cast. I liked everyone in the cast. But it was a little problematic. I think it's a quality series. I'm kind of probably going to go on and watch Nightmare at 30,000 Feet. I kind of like the look at that. There was a trailer at the end of this episode kind of showing future episodes, and Nightmare at 30,000 Feet was significant. Adam Scott's in that, and I like Adam Scott from, well, various things, but Parks and Rec is probably one of his most famous, but Adam Scott's pretty good, and I think that's a good casting choice for Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. So I might just go on to watch that too. So yeah, it was okay. I think they always suffer these reboots of Twilight Zone because they just don't quite live up to the original, so they're always going to pale in comparison, and unfortunately that's the nature of it. Maybe if people want to do this, they should give it a new name and a new brand to try. And there are plenty of new brand anthology series coming out, or have been recently, or all the time, in fact. So yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Not a bad episode, just a little over long. Kumail Nanjiani kept me interested, and Tracy Morgan when he popped up now and again, but the material was just a bit overstretched, really. It was not enough butter on this piece of bread, and it was spread too thin. That was the issue, really. Okay, I'm going to wind it up there, but before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to